Hi, everyone. The host, kindly allow me to share my screen. Thank you. Can you see my screen? Someone can unmute their mic and tell me if they can see my screen.
Yes, we can. Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. My name is Yasser Hamza. I'm a medical student from the University of Nairobi and the local exchange officer for this committee, which is known as Scopy. So let's make this a bit more interactive. So if you, okay, you guys can all see me. So if you've ever seen me before, talked to me before, click 1 on the chat box. And if you've never seen me or heard of me before, just click 2. Let's make this quick. Hi, Amal. So let me just say, if you know me and have seen me before or interacted with me before or seen me even on virtual platforms or physically, just click 1. If you've never seen me or never heard of me, if this is a new face, click type 2. Okay. So I see a majority of you know me. Which is a good thing. Yeah, anyway, so basically, let me just say I'm Yasser Hamza. I'm a local exchange officer for SCOPI, which is known as Standing Committee for Professional Exchange, which I'll give an introduction about today. And what else? I'm a 4th year medical student. I'm cool, I'm funny. Anyways, let's continue. Great. I can see the video is also going to be live streamed on YouTube. So if you want to share the link with your friends who cannot be able to attend or who are having difficulty in accessing, please share with them the YouTube link. So this is Scoopy. So, okay, so, sorry. So what is Scoopy? Okay, Scoopy means Standing Committee of Professional Exchange. So all of you know, there's something called MSAKE, which is Medical Students Association of Kenya. Under the Medical Students Association of Kenya, there are various standing committees that represent the voice of medical students in various areas. Like, for example, we've got SCORI that represents research exchange. We've got SCORA that represents reproductive health. We've got human rights. We've got public health. So all of these are standing committees. And each standing committee has a local officer within each chapter or each medical school that is present within Kenya or within the country. So I represent professional exchanges in University of Nairobi only. And there's a national officer who I'll introduce, represents the professional exchange for the whole country. So this is the professional exchange is a program that offers clerkship to medical students abroad. So if you've never traveled or you're interested in traveling, this is a really good way to set foot into the world of medicine outside the borders of Kenya. And annually, over 13,000 medical students, usually from more than 100 countries, just exchange and travel around the world, exploring different new healthcare systems. So if you're curious about a particular healthcare system, let's say of China or Italy or Brazil, this is now your time to actually use it, and you can use it through Scopy. Also, new cultures. So if there's a particular culture you're really interested in understanding and how the culture and health integrate, also enhancing your global health understanding. What is global health? What is what are the challenges that that different health systems of different countries face? What are other countries doing that makes their health system stand out? And what are the gaps that are there? And what is it that you can bring back home and apply to your country? Like, for example, if you've seen this particular kind of health system that is really interesting in your country, like how will you and you know that this is not there within our country, how will that that just having that understanding that there's that the gaps within our country or within the different health system, that's what Scopy is all about. So Scopy is not just about getting on a plane and just traveling or having fun or being a tourist. It's there, that part is there, but it's also trying to improve your profession or improve your understanding of the course you're studying, improve the understanding of your career that you're going to now get into. And if you want to have also, if you want international opportunities and want to know more about what other countries are doing, if, for example, if you want to collaborate with them in the future, so Scopy is one means in which you can do that. So that's Scopy for you. Also, the history of Scopy. So Scopy is really old. Was born before my parents were even born. So it's like a grandfather. So it's 1951. That's when it was founded. And it started with only eight European countries. So it just started within Europe. So all just 8 countries started, students came together and decided, hey, let's just exchange and explore each other's health system. And now as medical schools began to evolve in different parts of the world, Scopy then also began to expand in different forms of the world. And today there are over 100 countries actually that actively participate within this whole professional exchange space. And that's why it's the largest student-run exchange program in the world. So there are very many exchange programs in the world, but this one is the one that is the largest and the one that stands out from any other exchange program around the world, because it does not only provide you an opportunity for you to travel to another country at a low cost or at a suitable cost, but it gives you an opportunity for you to and build your medical skills, for you to also explore different countries, meet students from other countries and learn how they do their medicine. Just try and enjoy your holiday, but also add value to your career. So Scopy has some aims that it tries to achieve. So there are very many aims. I just tried to summarize them in 5 points. So first of all, it's just to improve unequal chances to medical students to participate, forgive my spelling, in professional exchange, regardless of their geographical, political, financial, sexual, cultural, and religious background. So Scopy is all about, you're not going to be discriminated because you're female or because you belong to a particular race. So Scopy is trying to break those barriers that prevent students from around the world to interact, or that prevent, or just those simple barriers that prevent us from understanding what other countries are doing. So that's what Scopy stands for. Other thing is also to create possibilities for medical students to learn about global health issues, like, as I mentioned before, what are the challenges that some health systems in some other countries or a country you're really interested in visiting or maybe working in the future are facing, their primary health concerns. Like, for example, within the Africa region, you'll see the primary concern is usually maternal mortality or infectious disease. And you want to know, okay, so what is there in Asia? What is there in Europe? What are their primary concerns? Is it NCDs? This is also a way in order for you to learn what is the country's major health issue that they're facing. And as you rotate in their hospital, let's say, for example, if you go to Chile and you rotate in the hospital, you'll be able to see this number of patients, presenting with this particular disease or illness. Also to maintain an affordable professional exchange tuition. So as you'll be guided through that, it's not very expensive to do an elective or an exchange. With Scopy, if you're to go with another exchange program, you'll be paying like over 100 times even. Trust me, it's that reasonable. Also, to provide medical students a chance to improve their medical knowledge. Remember, the same things that you do in your clinical years in medical school, like the ward rounds, following consultants, being asked questions, taking history, presenting that history. This is actually what you're going to be doing as you're going there, but you'll be doing it in a different healthcare setup in a different country with different medical students. So it's the whole exposure, the whole environment completely changes, and it's a phenomenal experience. There's someone who actually went for it, and they'll also tell you about the experience shortly in this meeting today. So it's kind of a new, unique, different experience. And also, like, if you go to other countries, they have some programs that allows you to enhance your medical skills. Like, for example, you'll go through basic surgical skills. So it just depends on the university you go to. Also, it provides medical students with a suitable, with possibility to experience healthcare in another institution and culture. Culture is very important. Get to understand what different what our different countries' culture is, or if you want to learn, maybe you've heard about what culture? Let's say you've heard about the Vietnamese culture and you want to learn about their food and you want to learn about their traditions, their healing, their traditional medicines, the challenges their country is facing. So this is what Scoopy is about. So just for you to explore, and you have the freedom, to choose where to go and to explore. Of course, it's not as easy as I'm saying. There's some exchange conditions. There's some requirements that you'll have to go through in order for you to have a successful exchange. But yeah, so it's possible. Academic quality. So the advantage of Scopy is just a minute. So the advantage of Scopy is that Scopy is endorsed by so many. Sorry, just a minute. Yes, so it's it's internationally recognized. It's not because academic quality is very important when it comes to exchanges, because remember I told you it's not a holiday, it's not a simple relax, but it's kind of like a mix to enjoy your education at the same time, explore a new country. So it's when you have an exchange with Skopje, because Skopje is globally recognized, it's every medical student around the world literally knows about it. So it's endorsed by WFME, which is World Federation of Medical Education, by WONCA, World Organization of Medical Doctors, by FENS, which is Federation of European Neuroscience Societies, by European Society for Emergency Medicine, by World Federation of Societies of Anesthesiologists, by OBSGYN societies, like International Pediatric Association, and by universities. So all the university that you'll go for your exchange recognizes Skopje. For example, our own University of Nairobi, does also recognize Skopje, and that's why students from all over the countries are able to come to University of Nairobi and do an exchange, or go through Kenyatta Hospital and do clerkship processes. So that's the advantage. It's globally recognized. So when you get a certificate, you know that it's recognized by all of this. And this list is exhaustive. There's so many associations. There are over like 20 associations that actually, global associations that recognize Skopje. So which countries, let me not say countries, regions can you visit? So basically there are 5 regions around the world which you can visit. One is Africa, the beautiful continent. A lot of students say they want to go to Europe, but there are lots of beautiful countries, like this first picture here that you can see here. This is actually Sudan, Khartoum, and it's so beautiful. So don't keep your options broad and wide. There's so many beautiful countries in Africa you can visit. You can also visit Asia Pacific. So these include the countries such as India, Pakistan, Indonesia, Vietnam, etc. You can also visit countries in Europe. You can visit Americas, which will include all the way from the north, like Quebec, to the south, Brazil, Chile, Paraguay, Ecuador, etc. And then you can also visit EMR, which is Eastern Mediterranean region. So that includes the whole of North Africa and part of Middle East as well. So that includes like Tunisia, Morocco, Saudi Arabia. I'm not sure about Saudi Arabia. Iraq, Iran, etc. So these are just the 5 regions that you can visit. And this is just like a glimpse of the 5 different regions that you can actually visit for your exchange. Yes, this is a huge caution. This is not a travel agency. We don't do your flights. We don't do your booking. No, this is completely not a travel agency. So please, when you come to us, don't assume that we are a travel agency, that we are going to handle your visa processes, that you're going to handle your traveling costs. And no, this is not a travel agency. This is as I mentioned before, it's a student-run it's a program that is run by students, by medical students, for medical students. So there's a lot that comes in. Academic quality comes in, your motivation to go for an exchange. So this is not a travel agency. So as you approach us, don't expect us to do your travel logistics. No, we don't usually do this. And yeah, so this is mainly focused. There's also some trainings that you'll be required to undertake before also visiting your exchange. So it's very, it's focused on improving your medical skills and improving your career as a doctor. Yes, so exchange conditions. So basically, all the universities have their way on, the different universities around Kenya have their way on which students are actually selected. But let me tell you, there's some good news. One is that your grades don't matter when you're doing an exchange. So whether you're an A student or a C student, it doesn't matter, because we know good grades don't make you a good doctor. So your grades don't really matter. We're not really interested in anything else. So exchange conditions only apply if there is limited amount of space and there's more than one person applying. So for example, if person X and person Y are applying to go to, let's say, which country? Spain. Let me say Spain. Person X and person Y are planning to go to Spain. However, there's only one contract that is available. And due to the time limits, a new contract cannot be signed, or there's some issues. So there's only one seat available. That's when the exchange conditions will apply. This is to ensure that there's fairness and there's equal chances for people to go to exchange. One, for example, that's, I've mentioned availability of contract at that time. So is that contract being used? If it's being used, then of course you're not able to use it because someone else is using it. Or if it's, so just basically if it's there, or basically if we have even a contract with the country. So for example, if you say you want to go to Slovenia, but we don't have a particular contract or a signed agreement with Slovenia, you can't go. So this is how it works. And then level of education. We know electives in University of Nairobi is usually conducted after the 5th year of education. So that's after year 5. That's when students are highly recommended, I'm not saying compulsory, but highly recommended to go for an elective term, either locally, to a local hospital, or abroad. So the choice is completely based on individual, it's individual based choice. So when you go, so basically level of education, we will rather give a priority to a level 5 student. Like for example, if a level 5 student and a level 4 student comes with an exchange and they both want to go to one particular country and there's only one seat left, but if there are 2 seats, we'll allow both of them to go, no problem. But if there's only one contract left, then we'll give priority, of course, to the 5th year because because of the whole elective term. So the higher level education, the more points you score. Also involvement in Scopy. For example, if you have been part of the Scopy team, I previously or now currently like being an officer or just being a contact person, like you've helped conduct exchanges with the incomings as well. You've supported them. You've just been a contact person. So usually for incomings, the local officer usually appoints contact persons to help conduct the whole exchange process. Or if there are any opportunities that come up in Skopje, which will hopefully by next month be there, how your involvement in Skopje shows your interest in professional exchange and stuff. So that's also like a huge tick. Also your motivation. Everything you do in life, there has to be a why. So what is the reason, and what you intend to learn and bring back and share with your colleagues. This is very important. Remember, you cannot become a doctor alone, so you have to share your experiences with others so that others can pick up and learn from it. Have you ever been in any other kind of exchange program? That really matters, because if you have done a Skopje exchange before, or you have done any other sort of international elective before, you'll actually not get much points. This is because you need to give others a chance. So we'll give someone who doesn't have an experience more priority over the person who has been on a Skopje exchange or any other exchange before. This is to ensure that everyone gets a fair chance, yeah, to go to another country. I mean, let's be fair. We can't all have everything. And then also commitment to exchange. So when commitment, this in terms your payment includes your payment, plays a key role to your commitment. How willing and how aggressive are you in order to go for exchange? However, I'm just letting you know that these conditions will only apply if there's more than one person seeking to go to a particular country, to the same country, or applying for the same contract, and there's only like one chance or one opportunity available, that's when this exchange conditions will apply. And this is just to ensure fairness. Of course, okay, forgive my spellings. There's an exchange with an E. I should have gone through this. Oh my God. Anyways, so your exchange conditions is just to ensure that there's equal, fair chance for everyone to get a chance to go to Skopje. So for a Skopje exchange. So please don't take this like we are trying to refuse you or something. This is just to make sure that everyone has a chance. Also, sometimes, yeah, that's basically it. But I was talking about first come first serve. Sometimes you'd see that someone might not be able to show someone might not be able to show full commitment immediately. This is because they have to first sort out their finances and be sure. And for someone else who is who has comes from a really good financial background, will be more will be like really can even say, yes, I want to go on a Skopje exchange right now. And this person will require probably a week or require some discussion with families, etc. So this is why we want to ensure that everyone gets an equal chance. And it's not because you have more money, that's why you should deserve to go on an exchange. No, remember, one of the aims of Skopje is everyone has a chance to go on an exchange irrespective of their financial background or gender diversity. Also, something I forgot to mention here, we will take into high consideration gender balance. For example, if there are 5 contracts available, 6 contracts available for UON, and there are like 12 people who have shown interest, we will ensure that at least we have 3 female and 3 male. This is because we, as medical students, or generally not even medical students, as a person living in the in this century, you need to ensure that there's gender equality and there's gender fairness. Like, we want to see, even in the whole global health field, women and men should be equal in terms of position wise or anything. So gender equality is also taken into highly into consideration. So it's not only a male or female dominant exchange process. Yeah. So yes, make this a reality. So if you're really interested in going on an exchange, first of all, decide on a country you're interested in visiting. Just don't say, I want to go to Europe. I mean, Europe is not a country, it's a continent, it's a region. So just decide on country or countries you're interested in visiting. So have some few options, and also know why you're going. So this is, of course, it's your personal choice to decide which country you want to go to, but then also ask yourself, what is the reason why you want to go to? Is it because you're interested in learning about the health system, etc.? So decide on that, and then also decide on the month as well, because of course, this will be communicated to a person in, for example, if you're going to Chile, that person needs to make some arrangements. Or even if someone is coming to Kenya here, they need to contact us in advance or give us a specific date so we can be able to prepare for them accommodation, meals, etc. So you need to decide on the date as well. Yeah. So make sure you come in with a country and a date, and then contact your Leo, this is me, via email, which I will share it soon. So this is also to ensure that there's official communication, and then we can do further communication on WhatsApp. Please don't communicate with me on WhatsApp at the first point of contact. Yeah. And then also we can, once you decide your countries, we'll go through exchange conditions. Remember, a country has a particular exchange condition, so it can be language conditions. For example, some countries don't say that French only or German only, and this is just an example, but yeah, those are some requirements that you need, or they require some vaccinations, etc. So that's how you can also help you in making your decision. Of course, there'll be payment involved, which Elvis will talk about. Also preparing your documents. There'll be a pre-departure training. This is a very compulsory. Remember, we are sending you as representing medical students in Kenya. So you're going to be representing Kenyan medical students. So you need to have a good training and a good understanding of what you're going to be able to also do there. So pre-departure training is really compulsory, which you will get prior you leave. And then also have fun, tons of fun. Remember, you're not going there to go to the hospital and then sit in the library and then read and then go to the hospital. No, you're there to do that, and as well find some time. You'll see some countries have some really good social programs. Just enjoy yourself. Take some good pictures, send it here, and we'll post them. And yeah, make us jealous. And then, of course, you'll have to write a report and earn a certificate. That is just a brief. That's very brief. COVID and exchanges, I'll talk about it briefly. As you know, right now we are in a pandemic, of course, we all know. And this has really affected exchanges. In fact, right now you can't really decide where you want to go on an exchange because we are in a pandemic lockdown, borders are closed. Some countries are not even accepting. So probably this year it might be difficult. And also you need to know a date. Remember, you need to be on holiday to do this exchange, right? So none of us know when we're even going to go back to school. So that's the reality. However, so if you're contacted, maybe you can contact to just find out more about Scoopy. But in terms of now going through the whole process without a proper fixed date is difficult at the moment. I'll not talk, yeah, so yes, so Google form, please, please, please. At the end of the session, I'm also going to send it on the chat box and in the Scoopy WhatsApp group, which I'll also send a link for you to join. Please fill in a Google form. This will give us a good idea on which countries you would like to visit so that we can be able to sign contracts with those countries in advance, which is Elvis will talk about later. So please, please, please fill in this Google form. It will help us gauge and help us, serve you better as Scoopy you. And yeah, that's it. That's it from me. Thank you very much. Before I invite the next speaker, I'd like us to do a quick survey. So please go to Mentimeter and yes, please tell us which countries you're interested in visiting. Yes, so go to www.menti.com and use this code 96651 and tell us where you'd like to visit for an exchange. Again, forgive my spelling. Oh God, yeah. So just try and just visit mentimeter.com and so first of all, yeah, just visit this and tell us where you'd like to go. Remember, this is anonymous, so no one will know. We won't know the name of whoever has said. So just go to Mentimeter and tell us the countries you'd like to visit for an exchange, given the chance. Canada. Wow, okay, nice. Ooh, Botswana, wow. Morocco, nice. South Africa, UK, okay, interesting. Okay, nice. Egypt. Oh, someone wants to go to have some pasta in Italy. Nice, okay. Oh, so I see Canada is common. Okay. Morocco, Brazil, yay, whoever that person is, you're my best friend. Let's see. UAE, okay, Ethiopia, yes, thank you. Nice, okay. Come on, we are 40. Let's try and all engage. It's really simple. Just go to www.menti.com and use 96651. You can see it on the screen here and just enter the code and just type quickly. You can even type more than one response and just give us a good idea of where you want to go. Washington, DC, very specific. Nice, okay. Sweden, Nepal. Oh, okay, cool, okay. Australia. Okay, just give this another 2 minutes. So for everyone to have a chance to give us a really good idea where they would like to visit, given a chance to a country. So let's say if you had to go next month, where would you want to go? Like just which country first comes in your mind? New Zealand, nice, okay. Barbados, cool, okay. Spain, Señorita. Honduras. Wow. I love the diversity here. This is awesome. Okay. China, yes. Hopefully China will be open soon. Okay. Come on. How many of us have not responded? 10 of us have not responded. 20 of us actually have not responded. Please, let's just try and it only takes like 2 minutes, even a minute. Okay, thank you guys very much for listening. Now I'd like to take this opportunity to invite a really good friend of mine, a person who has brilliant personality, super cool if you sit down and interact. And he is currently serves as the national exchange officer for Skopje. So he's not only responsible for UN, he's responsible for the whole of Kenya when it comes to Skopje. He is the guy that usually interacts with students from all of these different countries that you've mentioned, and he's the guy that makes things very much possible. Without much ado, Elvis Karaya, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Yasser. I'll just have my video on for a few minutes so that people can see me, and then it'll be going off for connectivity. I'm using my phone. Uh, Thank you so much for this. As you've heard, my name is Elvis. I am a student also at the University of Nairobi, currently in my 5th year. And it's a joy to be the national exchange officer. It's quite fun, and my video is being off now. I'll ask Yasser to kindly put the Mentimeter on, still running. That way we can continue seeing what countries as people fill them, as I talk about what exactly is the back end to how exchanges work, which was the second part of this. So kindly, for the couple of guys, 15 or so, who haven't filled it out, you can put in your country as we continue, and I'll speak something about it towards the end. So how exactly does this exchange work? I think partly before, a lot of people do not know what Skopje is, and I'm glad that Yasser has done a very good job helping us understand. And that has impacted how most students deal with exchanges here in our country. The other reason I think is most people do not view the elective as a very important part of their medical career. Um, it's not compulsory in our country yet at the time, but it might be soon with the way things are going and how global medicine is becoming. So we might have to do an elective. And in most countries, most of us would like to practice in, electives are compulsory. So it does give you an added advantage. And in some countries, it's actually graded. So what is this? You've heard about the whole process, selection criteria, and what Yasser has talked about is basically what happens at the University of Nairobi. So at the national level, where we sign the contract. So what is a contract? A contract is an agreement between us as MSAKE, the Medical Students Association of Kenya, and other members of the International Federation of Medical Students Associations, so other countries, we will call them national member organizations, NMOs. So we come up with an agreement, say, in the year 2021, we'll accommodate, say, 5 students from country X coming into Kenya, and 5 students from Kenya will go to country X. So that's a contract. So each individual student will be counted as contract. So we'll have, those will be 5 contracts, bilateral contracts. Bilateral meaning we'll have 1 student going and 1 student from that country will come. There's another type of contract called a unilateral contract, where 1 student from either country goes, so the other does not send a student. Now, I know most of you have had a very interesting rumor. I also had it when I was beginning. Uh, I had that, well, Msaki signs 15 contracts. That's not true. We do not have a limit at the time, mainly because we really have never reached our capacity. We do not know what our capacity is. We have 9 medical schools in this country that can host and accept students, and can also send students. So when Yasa talks about contracts, we really don't have contracts that are signed specifically to a university. They are all at the Msake national level. So it's whichever university claims it first gets the contract. It doesn't sound good, but it's what it currently happens. Why this is so is, and it's one of the things I'm really trying to improve on, is to come up with a system that we can have each university know their capacity and know exactly where students will go. So now that we know what contracts are, how do we get these contracts? So as a country, as IFMSA, the International Federation of Medical Students Associations, we have two conferences annually, general assemblies, if you may call them that. So one in March, where we discuss about legislation and training, and then one in August, where we now do more discussion deliberations, and we get to sign contracts. So contracts are signed essentially in August. Next month, we'll be signing contracts. And as we speak right now, we are in that interesting period of courtship. Countries that are very sure, that have sent out the Google form Yasa will be sending out about where students would like to go, and they have that data, are already sending emails, and we are having conversations about having contracts once we get to the contracts fair, to the exchange fair in August, at the online assembly, general assembly, yes. So that's when we sign contracts. Majority of students who have reached out to us, even at University of Nairobi, who want to go on exchanges, normally get the response, these are the countries that are available. And why we get that response is because once we sign contracts in August, most countries that are very organized come up with, they know exactly what is their capacity per university, and can therefore allocate them at the beginning of the year. The IFMSA year starts in October. So they can allocate them at the beginning of the year, and they know exactly what is going to happen. So each month they know University X is accommodating 10 students per month for the next 12 months. They can plan that much. And why Yasa actually emphasized on knowing around the period. Sometimes here in Kenya, and I've noticed this with the other universities as well, you can't really say, I would like to go next day in March, because, well, but some random person in the ministry will wake up and say, the university is closed and it's on a Monday, you're walking to school, the university is closed and you have to go back home, and now you do not know when you finish your year. So it's not very feasible for us here. So what we do most times as a country, we sign month unspecific contracts. So the contract is open for sometimes, say, 6 or thereabout months, or open free contract, any month is okay. That's what we sign most of it. It's one of the things I negotiate for when I'm negotiating for contracts. We get one that is not month specific. It limits, because a lot of countries and universities tend to have university specific and month specific. Now, the other aspect about contracts is, if you would like to go on an exchange and you're very specific, for instance, I can see 23 of us filled out this form. There's a country like Finland in here, China, there's Australia. I can't sign all these contracts, all this one individual country, without knowing that there will be a student who would like to go, because how exchanges work, which I'll get to, is we will end up having financial obligations to accommodate one of their students. So before I continue, let me just speak about how it works. So most of you have had or if you haven't, the participation fee, that's the official term for it. The participation fee for exchanges is 300 euro. That's roughly what, as a committee, we have calculated it would cost us to host a student from whatever country, when they come here. So a participation fee in a bilateral contract helps us host the student who will be coming from the other country. Uh, we are working towards finding ways of reducing that amount to an even smaller figure. If we get if for instance you said we got partnerships that helps us accommodate students cheaply at all universities, it becomes easier now to put the price lower. But currently on average, it costs us about €300 to host a student for 1 month, which is the period of the exchange. So once you pay that 300 fee, the €300 fee, it hosts the other student, and you do not get to spend accommodation money in whatever country you go to if it's a bilateral contract. The other kind of contract, the unilateral contract, say for instance, the guy who wanted to go to Honduras, we reach out to Honduras and they tell us, it's fantastic that you want to come, but we don't have a student who would like to come to your country at that period. Therefore, the contract can only be unilateral, only you can go. Then the price would be pegged on how much it would cost to host you in Honduras. Uh, that might not necessarily be 300. It could be anything depending on how expensive the country is to live in. The other aspect to how exchanges work is because we sign contracts in every August, it becomes quite an how do I put this, unfair for some people, because there are certain things that you might not be able to access. I noticed one student, for instance, said that would like to go to the UK, and I'll use that as an example. If you would like to go to the UK anytime for any time in the year 2021, you must have filled out your application form by March 2020. It's a national issue because for them, electives are compulsory in all medical schools, and all students have to have gotten placements, and all universities handle placements before March of every year. So if you're going in 2021, you must have filled out your application in 2020. And one of the challenges we've been having with students here is that most students don't know they would like to go for exchanges until like 3-4 months before. And so you're coming to YASA 5 months before you plan to go, and you're like, oh, YASA, I want to go to the UK. Um, uh, Sadly, no matter how much we try, it's not possible. We can't do it on that timeline, with that timeline. So one of the things that is very important in how exchanges work is time. So for all the people who would like to go, and for instance, for exchanges between March 2021 to March 2022, you're supposed to be speaking to YASA right now, because those are the contracts we'll be signing this August. The exchange season that's coming to an end was signed for last year, and those contracts are gone. So it becomes very interesting in how the exchanges work, and that's why part of the reasons why we're having this webinar, so that we can understand what happens in the back end. Now, you have now paid you have shown interest, you've reached out to YASA, you have shown interest. You're lucky, you've shown interest right now, so you can get whatever country you'd like. We have started speaking with, say, Sweden, who, by the way, are open for exchanges apart from the time when we are usually on holiday. Sorry about that. So it becomes interesting. You've reached out. YASA has told you about the exchange conditions and what the requirements are for that country. And I'm glad one of my good friends, Susan, will be speaking to us about her experience. For instance, Some universities in Germany will require German proficiency. Others in France will require French proficiency. The person who'd like to go to Portugal, some universities will require you to know some Portuguese. Yeah, because of the nature of the work you do. You speak with patients, patients speak their native language, so it's understandable. And that brings me to my other point, the kinds of exchanges you can participate in. So most of you know of the clinical clerkship, which is what we do in the wards. You go and you speak to patients and you take histories and present and participate in surgery if it's surgical, or you do medicine stuff like going to clinics and all that and playing house. That's one kind of elective. So you can do clinical elective. You can do an elective in pathology, in immunology. You can do an elective in the preclinicals. You can go and do an anatomy elective, a biochemistry elective. It's possible. So those are other options. So say you want to go to a country to experience their culture, and you're not really interested in how they clerking patients, and you really want to go to that country, you don't necessarily have to go for a clinical elective if it requires a language you're not proficient in, and you can do an elective term in preclinicals. And in most countries, the teaching staff can mostly speak English. I know, like in most of Germany or Sweden, they'll speak English, so it will help. And I'm glad Yasser talked about the importance of knowing why you're going. That way we can help you get a more suitable experience, and we can tailor the experience for you. Um, so that's essentially how the elective process works. The main take-home messages are: one, apply early. Reach out early, speak to us as early as you can. It doesn't matter that you're uncertain about when is exactly you'd like to go, if it's March 2021, July 2021, just reach out. The fact that you've reached out helps us at this point to get you the country you desire. The second thing is, and it's tied to the first one, plan early. Start planning. Say, fine, we've started talking about the contract, you've gotten your contract. It helps you to plan early. He said we are not a travel agency. You will need your visa, you will need plane tickets, you will need other things. You will need to start, if you're going in summer and it's Europe, you will need to get your summer board. You start as early as now. The other thing is get a feel of what to expect. We live in a very global village now, so you can easily find out, for the person who's going to Nepal, how the people in Nepal are, what they do, what they eat. Nobody put Croatia here, but when I was planning my elective, I looked at countries like Croatia, and I liked it because I'm a Kikuyu, and they eat a lot of potatoes and cabbages and meat all in one stew. They are literally Mashakura people. I would fit in. It's good to get a feel of what the other country is. Start early, plan, and reach out early enough. I guess if there are any questions you'd like me to speak on, you may put them on the chat. And that's it from me. Thank you so much for attending this. I hope that we can organize to have all of you go to your exchanges as soon as things are open, and have a very wonderful experience, as Susan will speak about in just a short while. Yasa?
Thank you very much, Elvis. Really appreciate what you have said. It's at least we have a good idea of now how it works at a national and international level. And again, as we said, if you, as Elvis has mentioned, if you really want to go, or you're really interested in visiting in a particular country, please reach out to me, and reach out to me through the Google form. That's the best way we can help you. So that's the best way we can know. So in the Google form, you'll find options in which region you want to go to, which country you're visiting. So this is the first step. Please kindly fill in the Google form. That way, because if you approach me right now, I'll tell you, I'll send you the Google form as well, because this is the most important and urgent thing at the moment. And then from there we can continue with the conversation and look at now the exchange conditions, look at which particular field you're really interested in. And now that's when you have a date set, etc. Like if you want to go on a IMED rotation, etc. I like how Elvis selected his electives. Like, keep that in mind. Like, he loves potatoes, etc. So have that, like, always know why. When you know the reason why you want to do this, and I think that's a life rule. So always have your whys correct. Then you'd see the process will be smooth. So if you want to go to a particular country, just don't go because it looks good on TV, etc. Have a good reason why you want to go visit it as well. So today with us, we have Susan Jeru. Susan Jeru is a medical student from the University of Nairobi who had an amazing opportunity or an experience to visit, have an exchange in Germany. As you can see, that's her there, having some ice cream with her new or her German friends that she met who are medical students. So this is just a bit of experience. She's just going to talk about her exchange experience. Susan, kindly
Hi
unmute your mic.
guys. Yes, I don't know if
Hi,
you can hear me.
Susan.
Hi. Thank you so much, Yasa and Elvis. That was
Yeah.
really informative. And yeah, I think we all learned a lot from that session. So I'll just speak a little about my experience. I'll give you a sense of what you need before, during, and maybe after. And hopefully when you go, you can have just as good of a time as I did. So I went to Germany. That was last year. And before I went, I had to schedule an interview at the visa office at the German embassy. Just like Yasa and Elvis mentioned, you have to sort yourself out with the travel logistics. One good thing with Germany, and I think most European countries in general, is that they actually cater for your visa fees. So you don't have to pay a visa fee, but you do need to have like your passport ready. You do need to have your return ticket. You do need to have like some proof of financing. And yeah, like basically that process is seamless. Just make sure you book your interview early enough. I think this is true for any country you choose to go to. It's a big plus if you know the language of the country you're going to. Most countries in Europe do speak English, like was mentioned, but qua ground, things are a bit different. I was in the cardiothoracic surgery department, so a lot of our patients were old German men, and they want to talk to you, they want to know about where you're from, what you do, and they don't speak English. So it's a big plus if you can converse with them. I was lucky to have done German prior to the exchange, but some of my fellow exchange people who had come from other countries, there's a girl from Montenegro and another one from Egypt, were able to do just fine without knowing German. So yes, I did not have the opportunity of doing uh, before arrival training, but in the picture you see there, where there's someone fixing an IV line, that was our upon arrival training. So when we got to Germany, we were three girls who were chosen for the exchange in that season, and we went to Gießen. It's a really small town just outside of Frankfurt. So they took us together, we went on a train, and we went to this place called Marburg. Yes, and where we got together and they taught us suturing skills. They taught us how to fix IV lines. The IV lines are different, believe it or not. So you need to, know how things work there. They teach you how to draw blood, and they also teach you how to do sonography and just anything you'd be expected to know during your elective, they will teach you. So I wasn't lucky enough to have the pre-departure training, but the upon arrival training, I did that. Oh, another thing I forgot to mention is before you go, you do need to have your vaccinations in order. For the hospital I was going to, they needed hepatitis B, which all medical students get. but they also need you to have proof of serology. So that's a whole other thing. They need to know that you still do have protection. And trust me, it comes in handy because I was assisting in this surgery where the patient had hepatitis B, and there was blood everywhere. Let's just say blood got everywhere. And I was just like, thank God, UN came through for us on that. We had our vaccinations in check, and the antibodies were fine. So I did not get hepatitis from that surgery, despite the protection. So yeah, I think what you would do on a day-to-day basis once you get to the exchange is highly dependent on the department you're in. Like I mentioned, I was in the cardiothoracic surgery department, so it was very small in the hospital I was in. There weren't a lot of people, which was awesome, which means because it meant I got to be more hands-on. So in the morning, I would show up in the hospital at around 7. Yeah, 7. I would have to, go see the patients in the ward. I'd draw blood. You take them to like this tube thing that takes the samples to the lab. You do ECGs for the patients in the ward that had surgery previously. You also remove pacemaker wires. It was very hands-on. So you do really sharpen your skills. They'll be like, take the ankle brachial pressure index of that patient, and you'll have to like research and know what that is and do it. But it's an amazing learning experience. It really keeps you on your toes, but you do learn a lot. You get to assist in surgery if you're in a surgical department. That's where the upon arrival training comes in, because they do expect you to suture, they do expect you to do your staples, they do expect you to do a lot of these things that, as a medical student, maybe you'd just be happy, observing from afar, but it does really sharpen your skills as a clinician. Yeah, so I also wanted to talk a bit about accommodation. IFMSA and, Scopy has done an amazing job on that. The fact that you've paid your participation fee means that you're guaranteed a place to stay for the duration of your exchange. And in my case, and I think in most of Europe, you're also given a stipend. So when I got to Germany, I actually arrived a few days earlier than my exchange was supposed to start. The apartment I was living in was a student apartment. It was shared, but I had my own room. There was, good Wi-Fi, which is so important. There was like a washing machine for you to do your laundry. They had made space in the fridge for me to put my food and everything. So the living quarters were very comfortable, and it was a walking distance to the university hospital. So if I got up, say 6:30, I try and be showered and ready to go by 6:50, and I'm in the hospital by 7. It was that convenient. It was really close. One other thing is you're given a weekly stipend by the Leo on the other side. So for Germany, we used to be given 50 euros a week, which I think Elvis had alluded to. That's the cost of maintaining an exchange student. So I got 50 euros every week, which was more than sufficient to, cater for my food. I didn't really have transport expenses because, I was walking to the hospital every morning. Yeah, so it was very adequate for my food and for my upkeep. Like I was totally comfortable. So if you think about it, it's like you get back all the money that you spent in the commitment fee or the participation fee that you paid upon your application. So yeah, that was really awesome. What else? What else? What else? Okay, let me talk a bit about the social program. Yeah, the last picture that we were having ice cream, that was a summer fest in Marburg, I think. So they do have amazing social programs over the weekends. You get to go for summer festivals, you get to go for like concerts and, just picnic days and like basically the social program. It depends on which country you go to, but it really gives you a sense of the kind of people that live there, the kind of things they do. It gives you a sense of the culture, which is so important. So those of you who want to go to like Nepal, you won't just be, going to the hospital, learning about sutures. Like, yeah, you'll do that, but you get to really experience the culture. And that's where I think IFMSA endoscopy in particular just, takes the cake. It immerses you in the culture, and that's so important. Uh, is there anything? Oh, when you get there, please make sure that you liaise with a doctor because you're supposed to have him sign your certificate at the end. He's supposed to monitor your progress. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to, say, I don't understand what you're doing. Could you please explain why you're doing this and not this? It's really important to be interactive. It's really important to be confident. You speak out, and, like if you're not understanding something, you say, listen, please explain this to me, or why are we doing it like this? And in the converse, they also do engage you a lot. They will expect you to know things, which is why I think the pre-departure training is really important. Lucky for me, I was fresh out of fourth year, so my pathology was, it was still kind of at my fingertips. So, yes, everyone is friendly, everyone is very kind, everyone is willing to help, everyone will answer your questions with a smile. And I definitely recommend going for an IFMSA exchange. Um, Another thing is, if you do end up in Europe, take the opportunity to travel. You can make your own arrangements because you'll get the Schengen visa. So, if, for example, I went to Germany, I took that opportunity to travel around, go to Italy, see what that country is about. I went to Slovenia, which was random. I got kicked out. Okay, that's another story. But yeah, Croatia, it's not, it's beautiful. We wanted to see where Game of Thrones was shot. You can really just immerse yourself in the whole European region if you choose to go there. And yeah, so it's an amazing experience. Highly recommend it. And if anyone has any questions, if anything wasn't clear, just, you can write out your question in the chat box and I'll be happy to answer. Yeah. Thank you, Elvis and Yasser, again.
Sorry, I was actually on mute. Anyways, thank you very much, Susan, for giving us your experience and telling us how your exchange was, etc. It was phenomenal. Wow. Yes, it was a jaw-dropping moment. You really had a good time, and we really hope all students have an opportunity to have the good time. And of course, we do have the challenge of Corona, COVID-19. And all we can do right now is just pray that this thing ends, and so the restrictions that are there or beyond our control are uplifted, and we can be soon going on exchanges. Yes, and have a good time like the way Susan did. Fantastic. Now, we're gonna open the floor like around 10 minutes, and we have a quick session of question answers. So I'm just going to run through the chat box and see if we have any questions. Sorry, Elvis, I'm having an issue with the chat box. Can you access the questions?
Yes. Let me just have a look at them.
You can also post your questions live. Yeah.
We had a question from Deborah, who was, Yasser, could you please, which countries can Nigerian students apply to, and that will be relatively cheap? And then she also asks, what would guarantee the success of your application?
Okay, so Elvis, I think you can take that. Yes.
Deborah, I cannot really speak about Nigeria, but some of the things are usually the same the world over. For instance, what countries would you? The price is pegged on your own country. If your own country has partnerships with universities and accommodation, so it becomes cheaper to host students, they can give you a very good participation fee, and it would become very much cheaper to go to. The other cost would be flight costs. I can only speak from my experience. For instance, on average, to fly to Europe is somewhere from Nairobi would be somewhere from about 40,000 Kenya shillings to about 100 on average for economy. But depending on where you'd like to go, if you'd like to go to the Americas, it becomes much more expensive. So if you're looking at cost, you'd like to go somewhere nearer or somewhere that flights are cheaper. Near might not necessarily mean cheap. For instance, a flight from Nairobi to Dar es Salaam is more expensive than a flight from Nairobi to Hamburg. So you might want to look at that. You might also want to look at places for if you're in Nairobi, you could go to Uganda and take a bus. So that's another option. So cost really goes down to one, how far or how much would be the flight cost, and then the second option would be what is the participation fee in your own country. That's what I would say to that.
Yeah, I'll also say to Deborah, you can also, if you want to know more about going to exchange now from Nigeria, you can also contact your local officer. If you don't know your local officer, you can contact your national officer, or you can email. I put my contact and I can help you reach out to your through Elvis, of course. Reach out to your national officer, so or your in order for you to be able to understand what Nigerian students, what Nigeria, the NMO of Nigeria, which is called NIMSA, even Nigerian
Yes,
Medical
NIMSA.
Students Association, NIMSA. Yeah. You can reach out to Elvis, and then he can help you connect. He can connect you with the national officer, and you can find out more
Definitely.
about now Nigeria, because every NMO has their own contracts, has their own uniqueness in terms of the countries which they send students to or receive from. Thank you. We are also taking questions live, so if you'd like to, you can raise your hand or you can just unmute yourself if you'd like to ask a question. Okay, so I don't think we have any questions. In the meantime, I'd kindly urge you, if you have any questions you'd like to ask me, or you'd like to find out more about exchanges, that's my picture. You can contact me. Please contact me through email. WhatsApp is a bit difficult for me to answer because I have so many messages. So just leo.nairobi.scopy@gmail.com. However, if you really are super interested, I really urge you to first fill out the Google form, which has been sent on the link. And there's also a WhatsApp group, which I can share the link as well in the chat. So please fill out the form first, because if you contact me, I'll also tell you to fill out the form first, because that will be able to give us an idea of where you want to go to and see if it's possible, or then from there we can take it from there. So kindly email first, no, fill out the form, the Google form first before you reach out to me. And then, however, if you really want to know more about Scopy, and also if you want to have a good idea on how exchanges work, etc., you can please feel free to contact me through this email. Thank you very much.
Before we wrap up, I can see there's a new question.
Okay.
Othiambo asks on the chat, have we had anyone going for the preclinical exchanges in Kenya? And if yes, what is the experience like? I am not sure if we have had anyone who's been to a preclinical exchange. It would mean going back through the archives. But I'm going to do that and reach out to you. I'll ask that you reach out to Yasa, and then I will tell you about the experience, if there is any. If there isn't, I will find someone who has been to a preclinical exchange from wherever, and they can give us what the experience was like. But generally, as from what Susan said, I can only assume it was an amazing experience and they enjoyed themselves. And most likely that they got to do things to meet the objectives they'd like to, which I'll also share with you what the objectives might look like for a preclinical exchange.
All right. Thank you very much, Elvis. Do we have any questions? You can raise your hand or unmute yourself. You can even take live questions, no problem. Please feel free to ask questions because this is a really good time, especially if you'd like to know what happens at the national or international level, because we have Elvis here with us.
Deborah has her hand up.
Deborah. Okay. Yes, Deborah, you can speak. Deborah, you can unmute your mic.
Thank you very much. So what exactly guarantees your selection after application?
Hello, ma.
Did you get me?
Yes, I got it, ma.
Yes, so you said what guarantees your selection after your application. So,
Yes.
okay, do you mean, let me ask you again, do you mean application at your local level, like for when you apply in your university?
Yes.
Okay, so Deborah, all universities have their own application or selection process that is unique to them, both at local and at national level. So I won't be able to know what the Nigerian selection process is. However, we are ready to help you to reach out or contact with NIMSA Nigeria, which is the student organization for Nigerian students, and this can also give you an idea of now how exchange conditions or what are the exchange criteria for Nigerian medical students to go. But in general, Elvis, would you like to comment on that?
It's the exchange criteria that you had put out. So most places will gauge using the criteria he talked about earlier, which is year of study, participation in SCOPE, motivation. They will also would look at, for instance, proficiency in certain things, but generally that's the sense of it. So and some places also use the first come first served basis. So depending on how busy the exchange is in your country, the criteria might differ. And as Yasa says, it will be best if we reach out to NIMSA and connect you to, so that you can have a better answer from them.
Thank you, Elvis. I'll send you my contact in the chat, and I can help you connect through Elvis to NIMSA. Elvis, we have a question for you from Sahiba Gang. If we'd like to go for an exchange, but due to COVID, we don't know when our next holiday period is, how do we go about this? And to add to that is, do we currently have contracts with Canada?
For this exchange period, we do not have a contract with Canada, but we could sign a contract with Canada if you're interested. Because of the COVID situation, we are not very certain what will happen. We can only guess according to what is happening right now. Most countries have, for instance, in Europe, they have resumed most of their learning and practice activities, but it's a bit different, but it's only open to Europeans. So even for us guys who had contracts to Europe, we are looking at alternatives. But for next year, for instance, we cannot say for sure whether it will be possible or not, but hopefully it will be, gauging by how the situation is going. And well, Canada is just probably a conversation away, and you can definitely get a contract if you're interested. Start by reaching out and filling out the form.
Yes, thank you. So Saiba, kind request, please fill out the form. that I've sent on the chat box so that we're able to know the spectrum of countries which hopefully Elvis will be able to sign contracts with.
To add on,
Yeah.
I noticed I haven't answered quite well on the what happens because you're not sure which specific month you'd like to go for. I had mentioned this. Currently, I strive as much as possible to get contracts that are not specific on month. That way they are open for the whole exchange season, because if, say, we sign a contract and it's specific for January 2022, if anything happens and you can't go in January 2022, you're delayed in school, or you something comes up, exams and late or something, it would be unfair. So I try as much as possible to get a contract that is open for the exchange period.
So we also have another question. Is there a document with the deadlines for applications, seasons on all countries for the sake of planning?
So generally, if once you have a contract and once you're filling out the form, it's standard that you have finished the whole form at least 4 months before you're supposed to travel, and we so that we can send it to the host country. You can imagine, as Susan mentioned in her experience, she got there was someone to pick her up, she had accommodation, they had a stipend. All this requires planning. So for that planning to happen on the other side, we send it a bit earlier, about 4 months before. So generally, that's when we send it out. And then after that, we get something we call the card of acceptance, which is what tells you that they have received your application form, they have processed it, they are ready for you. And they, at that point, you also get the person who you'll contact on the other side, and they tell you exactly what kind of accommodation you'll have and all that. It's in the card of acceptance. And once you have reviewed this data, we send back a card of confirmation, which is we confirm that everything is all right and we are good to go, and all that's left is you going. So the deadline for the card of acceptance.
Hello, Elvis. We can't hear you.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So the card of acceptance, the deadline is 8 weeks. They have to send it back to us 8 weeks before your travel date. And then the card of confirmation is 4 weeks, so 1 month before your travel date. And to answer Wanjiko, the exchange period is 4 weeks, officially 4 weeks. You can plan to go a bit earlier before and sort yourself out for that, or stay a bit longer, and you'll have to cater for yourself for your extended stay. But the IFMSA will cater for 4 weeks.
Yeah, and even some countries are very strict. They take attendance. You need to, in order to gain a certificate, because this is, again, as I had mentioned, to ensure academic quality. So that's why when you're planning to go for an exchange, please be 100% sure on all the logistics first. At least now you have a good idea of how everything works. So just be 100% sure, because again, cancellations do comes with its own consequences. Maybe Elvis, you could touch a bit on cancellations.
Yes. Before I touch on cancellations, there are people who might wonder. University of Nairobi gives us, I think, 3 months for the elective period, 12 weeks. So if it's 4 weeks, just 4 weeks. You can apply for 2 blocks of 4 weeks to a total of 8, but you'll have to pay double the participation fee. But that's the only thing that doubles. Everything else remains the same. I don't think they'll double your airfare or your vaccinations. So you could apply for 2 blocks, 4 weeks each, consecutive. So you can go up to 8 weeks. Cancellation. So as you've heard about what happens and what goes into the planning of exchanges, And what most people fear is when you cancel, most times your money might not come back, depending on how early or how late you cancel. This is because what we charge you as the participation fee, as I said, is what we use to host their incoming, the person they will send from the country you're going to. So if you cancel and we had a contract and they had already sent their person, that means we already spent the money you sent to host that person. So we can't give you the money simply because it does not exist. We used it. So if say something and things do come up, uh, and you cannot go, one of the things we can help you with is if you can help us get someone to replace you, or if we can get someone to replace you for your contract. But then this requires that it be early enough, before 4 months before you're supposed to travel. That way we can get someone to replace you and be able to meet the deadlines on the timelines. So again, time is of the essence. The earlier you plan, the easier it becomes for everyone. Some things are like the coronavirus situation. If coronavirus or another pandemic or acts of God were to happen, they are not your fault. They are also not our fault. We strive as much as possible to get you a refund. And if you speak to anyone who we have had to cancel or postpone their contracts due to coronavirus, we have strived as much as possible to refund them their funds. So depending on the each situation, cancellation may or may not have a refund, and the amount of refund may vary from 0% all the way to 100, but it depends on time and other factors.
Thank you, Elvis. I hope that answers your question, Sahiba. Again, the things like COVID, it's quite tricky. So even this year, there's some countries that have canceled exchanges completely for the whole of this year. So probably have to wait for next year as well. And also we don't know the university status. We don't know when the next elective term will be, especially for those who are in fifth year or who are going to join fifth year. It's quite it's a difficult period to make a decision, but in the meantime you can fill out the Google form and just let us know where you're interested in going. And then also like there's some conditions that you might be able to that might even prevent you from going for an exchange. For example, okay, before I go to the conditions, like Elvis said, if you're finding someone to replace, make sure that that person has met also the requirements, because yes, that's what I actually want to say. The requirements, like some countries, like even Stacey had mentioned, require you to have vaccinations ready, require you to have your visa also has its own challenges. They take some time. So make sure you require documentations. Remember, you also need a passport to travel. So all this logistics, you need to plan your elective early. And yeah, so just the take-home message is basically plan early. So you can't just come and say that, hey, next month I'm on a holiday. I want to go to France for my exchange. We can't help you then, because other countries host many. Remember, you're not the only student that country hosts. There are very many students. Also, again, like the card of acceptance is what you receive. That means they accept you and they do have a space for you. So it's not always a guarantee that you'll get accepted, because, for example, some countries may not have the accommodation. Like, for example, in UN, let's say a person applies to, okay, you basically apply to different local committees. You don't only apply to one, so you put your eggs in different baskets. You just don't put it in one basket. For example, if a student applies to UN, Moi, and Egerton, and I tell Elvis that no, we can't accommodate any more students, and then the Leo from Egerton tells Elvis that, oh, they can't even accommodate students, but maybe the Leo from Moi tells Elvis that, hey, I can accommodate one student. But you see, the student had applied for all three, so the student will be automatically placed. So that the same applies to you. So don't expect to get the university that you applied for. Don't expect that you will guarantee for sure. That's why you applied. You have more than one option, but in most cases you eventually get them. So that should not worry you, but just keep an open mind. Make sure you have more than one options. of which universities you'd like to do your exchange in as well. Yeah, so if we don't have any more questions, can we end the session? Or would someone would like to ask a question? Okay, thank you. Let's have some closing remarks. Elvis,
Thank you so much, Yasa, for organizing this very wonderful webinars where we get to speak about exchanges. It's something that I'm quite passionate about, and I'm glad that we get to have so many participants and people show interest. And I'm looking forward to having all of us going to exchanges and having their best experience. Just to add on to the last thing Yasa said, it's true. When you're applying, part of the application form, you get to place to put in 4 local chapters, what universities you'd like to go to, and you get to also put in 4 different specialties, and you get to decide which one you'd like to be placed based on. So if you'd like to be placed based on university, they'll try as much as possible to place you on the university you would like, or for instance, specialties. So if you're really keen on doing an elective in the neurosurgery unit, so and you say placement should be based on specialty, they'll try as much as possible to find you a university that can have you on that specialty. And that's my parting shot. Let's turn the exchange.
thank you very much, Elvis. Yes, I'd like Susan, would you like to give a closing remark?
For closing remarks, okay, I feel like I summed it up pretty well, but an exchange is something that you will never regret. So I highly encourage all of you to go and yeah, tell us all about it. And we'd love to hear your experiences and learn from what you learned while you were there. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, that's one of our exchange condition is that you have to share your experiences. I mean, you just can't go to Honduras or to Canada and not come back and tell us about your experiences. You have to, that's like a rule. It's like a requirement. So when you come back, tell us all about your experiences, and share some pictures with us so that other students can get inspired to go on an exchange, a Scopy exchange in specific. Yeah, so for me, thank you very much for all those who took some time to join this session and learn about exchanges. Right now we are in a pandemic, a really difficult period, and even traveling is impossible. So many countries have their rules and their restrictions, and we just have to respect them, especially as medics, in order to prevent or to halt the community transmission of the coronavirus. So for now, one thing you can do is fill the Google form and let us know what country you're really interested in visiting. That's the best thing you can do right now. Also, we will hopefully soon enough we will join the Scopy UON group. I've sent a WhatsApp chat. And yeah, soon enough, we'll have some more opportunities on how you can get involved in Scopy without necessarily going on an exchange. So yeah, make sure you're on the WhatsApp group to keep up to date for any calls that are going to be made. Also, yeah, stay safe, stay home, most importantly. Pray hard that COVID ends so you can have a really good exchange in whichever country you'd really like to go. And yeah, again, plan early and enjoy yourself. So thank you very much. If you have any questions or anything, do email me, please, just for the initial part, then we can continue on phone call or WhatsApp, but just start with the email. But before email, start with the Google form. Thank you very much. Asante sana. Have a good night. Bye-bye. And thank you very much, Deborah, who's joining us from Nigeria. I will help you. I hope I have sent you my contact. Please check the chat and I can help you connect with NIMSA Nigeria. So thank you all for joining us. Good night. Bye-bye.